Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Bitcoin is once again playing out this bullish signal on the chart, while the price is actually running into critical short-term resistance alongside Ethereum doing the same thing in the short term, while Solana is now retesting a critical line of support. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, taking a look at the Bitcoin ETF news today, and just on Wednesday, we actually saw a decent net inflow of over 110 million US dollars. And if we're taking a quick look at the breakdown, we can see actually a relatively small inflow into the BlackRock ETF of only 42 million, but we saw a decent inflow into the Fidelity ETF of around 116 million. And at the same time as that decent inflow, we actually saw a very small outflow, relatively speaking, out of the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust of only around $75 million of outflows coming out of Grayscale. And keep in mind, the average day for Grayscale is an outflow of 267 million US dollars, with their largest daily outflow being over $640 million. And so once again, this $75 million outflow from Grayscale on Wednesday was a relatively small outflow, which is good news because it means we now have a net inflow for Wednesday, pushing the price of Bitcoin higher. And with that being said, getting into the Bitcoin charts today, this is on the weekly time frame, and right now the price is still somewhat struggling around that all-time high breakout level, which is at around 69 to 70,000, give or take. And once again, this is very normal to see. This is pretty much exactly what we saw in the last bull cycle, right around that all-time high breakout level. And so just keep in mind, even if we're seeing short-term struggle, short-term bearish price action here and there, that does not necessarily mean the end of the bull market, because that's actually what we saw last time during the middle of the bull market. And if you want to know more about this chart right here, then check out my last few videos here on the channel, because in those videos, I went into a little bit more detail about this chart right here. And the same can be said about this chart on the 3-day Bitcoin chart. Clearly, during this larger bullish trend, also known as a bull market, we have seen some decent pullbacks along the way. And only a couple of weeks ago, we actually saw another approximately 18% pullback from the all-time high level at 74,000 down to around 60,000. And so once again, as I've been saying here on the channel time and time again, if we're seeing 10, 20 or 30% pullbacks, for example, from high to low, that's very normal price action even during a bull market. And so for as long as you think the bull market is going to continue, which right now we're still actively in a bullish market, for as long as you think that's going to continue, these pullbacks of 20% or even more are short-term buying opportunities to accumulate cheaper Bitcoin. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, looking at the DXY, also known as the US dollar index, and over the last couple of days, we've actually seen a drop in the DXY, which is good news for Bitcoin and crypto. And this is exactly what I talked about in my last video before we actually saw the latest bounce back to the upside in the price of Bitcoin. I said that this is a short-term bullish signal, and I said if this continues, if we continue to see the DXY drop to the downside, expect some bullish price action for Bitcoin. And obviously, since I said that yesterday, we have indeed seen some short-term bullish price action exactly as expected. Once again, this is not 100% accurate, but it is extremely accurate at predicting where the price could go next. And so as always, I'll keep you up to date on what's happening here on this chart and many other important charts here in these videos every single day. So make sure you subscribe to this channel with notifications turned on so that you don't miss out on any of these important update videos. And if we're zooming into the shorter term, looking at the 4-hour time frame right now, obviously we've seen that bounce to the upside from this exact area of support. And once again, this area of support is still sitting in between 65,000 to 66,000. And like I said in my last few videos, we could find a lot of support, a lot of buying pressure around that area. And as I also said in recent videos here on the channel, I would expect the next resistance to the upside to start in between around 68 to 69,000, which is now exactly happening as expected. Once again, right now the price is basically struggling in this area because we do have resistance, we do have some selling pressure in this price range. But if we do manage to actually break out above 69,000 with confirmation, with candle closes above that level, or even better, if we flip 69,000 to 68,000 into new support by seeing a bounce from that level, then obviously that would be a bullish signal in the short term, and in that circumstance, I would expect to move up towards around 71,500 as the next important resistance. And above 71,500, we also have more resistance in between 73,000 to 74,000. And as for short-term support, once again, we still have this area in between 65 to 66,000, and below that we have more support down towards 61 to 62,000, just in case we saw a break below 65,000, which obviously right now has not currently happened. And if we're looking at the RSI on the 4-hour time frame, obviously this is bouncing to the upside out of those oversold territories, which I talked about a couple of days ago here on the channel. Basically, back then, I actually said on the channel that it's extremely likely we're going to see some sort of bullish relief in the short term, or at least a pause from this short-term pullback. But with that being said, the RSI is now basically back in neutral areas, which means we have room both to the upside and to the downside based on the RSI alone, which basically means we cannot really rely too much on the RSI at the moment, considering it's at neutral levels, so it has room to the upside or to the downside. And instead, at the moment, we just need to focus on important resistance that we're running into right now. And if we break that level, of course, the next resistance. And if we see a rejection here, then focus on important support. But once again, if the DXY continues to pull back here, that is an extra bullish signal for Bitcoin, contributing to bullish momentum here in the short term. And if you want to trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin, personally, I take trades just like that over on Bybit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you could get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also leave a link to Bitflex down below this video, and if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can enter an exclusive Apple Watch giveaway just by trading crypto on Bitflex. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well get set up or ready to go on one of those exchanges using those links down below this video if you want to get those extra bonuses. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we have a lot of liquidity above the price. First of all, liquidity is starting at around 69,500, going up towards around 70.6k. But we also have a lot more liquidity starting at around 71,500, going up towards around 72,000. And so basically, if the price of Bitcoin breaks out above $72,000, we're going to see billions of dollars of short positions that will get squeezed out of the market. They will get liquidated if we see the price cross above 72,000. And on the other hand, we do have some liquidity building to the downside, which is sitting at around 65,000, and more liquidity to the downside at around 64.4k. And so those are the important levels on the chart to pay attention to. And in case you're new to this, usually the price of Bitcoin moves towards where there's most liquidity. But anyway, getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this is on the weekly time frame, and right now we're actually trading below a critical area on the chart, which is sitting in between 3.4k to 3.5k. And as I mentioned recently on the channel, if we confirm a break on the weekly time frame with a weekly candle close below 3.4k, then that will significantly increase the chances of seeing a further pullback, potentially back down towards around 2.9k. But even in that scenario, even in that short-term bearish scenario, we can still technically remain within the larger bullish trend. But with that being said, obviously it would be very good news for the price to actually close above 3.4k to 3.5k, and the next weekly candle close, by the way, is in around 3 days from now. And with that being said, zooming into the short term, right now looking at the 4-hour time frame, we've seen a small bounce from this critical area of support, which was sitting in between around 3.2k to 3250. And we've also just seen the price of ETH move almost exactly up towards this area of resistance, which starts at around 3470, going up towards around 3530. And so far, the price has gone up towards around 3450. So very close to that area of resistance here in the short term. And so once again, those are the support and resistance areas to pay attention to on the chart. But if we see a further breakout above that resistance, then the next important resistance level is sitting at around 3650. And above that, we should find more resistance in between 3750 to 3.8k. And as for further support to the downside, in case we actually broke below 3.2k, then in that case, we should find some more support at around 3150. And once again, below that, we could potentially see a move down into the $2,000 range if we break below this critical area of support. But at least at the moment, the RSI on the 4-hour time frame is still in the reset stage. We're still resetting the RSI back to the upside out of those oversold territories that we saw a couple of days ago. And so, like I said, over the last couple of days, it's unlikely we're going to see a lot of bearish price action just in the imminent short term here. I've been saying it's very likely we're going to see a bit of a break from that bearish price action due to the RSI being in oversold territories, telling us we have limited room to the downside, at least in the imminent short term here. But it is important to understand that if the RSI resets further to the upside like this, that is technically creating more room to the downside later on. And if we're taking a quick look at the price of Solana, we are now retesting this critical line of support, which is sitting at around 179 to 180. And so obviously it would be good news for the price of Solana if we can hold above this line right here, because that will just be creating a new higher low in the price. And we could also potentially have a double bottom pattern here, also known as a W pattern, if we see a bounce here and a breakout back above around 190. And so in that situation, if we see a bounce here and then break out above 190 to 191, then in that case, I would expect the price to return up towards this high at just above $200, around $203. But what if the price actually breaks below this line of support right here? So it confirms a break below 179. Well, in that scenario, I would expect to move down towards this area of support, sitting in between around 167 to 172. And so right now, at the time of recording this video, the price of Solana is basically in a deciding moment. But either way, I've mentioned the important levels to pay attention to in either scenario so that we can make money in either scenario with a short position or a long position if you're trading crypto. And once again, if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, check out those links down below this video if you want to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can make money if the price is bullish or bearish using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.